We're going to stay in the Conference USA for a heavyweight matchup this weekend. We watched Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson last weekend. This weekend, we're going to be watching two heavyweights going at it. Western Kentucky goes on the road to take on the Liberty Flames, Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, I should say. 1 p.m. kickoff on Saturday on ESPN Plus. Liberty currently comes into this game at home, favored by 1.5 at Williams Stadium in Lynchburg, Virginia. Beautiful campus, beautiful stadium, beautiful atmosphere. Got to check out this place. It's definitely on my bucket list in college football. But Brad, before we get too far into real estate and geographical mountains and all that good stuff, let's stay focused on this game. These are two heavyweights going at it in the Conference USA, both fighting for a spot towards the end in the Conference USA title game. Western Kentucky comes into this game at 7-3, 5-1 in the Conference USA, and then on the other side, Liberty coming into this game 7-2 overall, 4-2 in the conference. Turn it over to you. Who comes out on top in this one, and can Western Kentucky steal one on the road in Lynchburg, Virginia?
Yeah, Nate. I mean, talk about Western Kentucky, and I don't believe we've talked about. If we have talked about them, we haven't talked about them much. Just a really solid program there. They're consistent year in and year out, and I really like their quarterback, Veltecamp. Big kid. Listed at 6'6", 235. Has got a good arm. I would say, he played some last year. He had about 50 attempts last year, but he's really taken over, full time this year. 19 touchdowns, 7 picks, and man, they throw the ball over the field. They're not a real big threat to run the football. Their leading rusher on the year, 587 yards. So Western Kentucky definitely is a pass first team. Then you talk about Liberty, and Nate, we know this, that Liberty just had a fantastic year last year, and I won't say it's been disappointing. I mean, 7-2, very, very respectable. But I think everyone, with as much firepower as they had coming back, I think everyone expected them to kind of replicate what they did. And of course, there in October, they had a little 2-game losing streak, and they've not lost since then. But I mean, they were pushed to the brink last week with UMass, and UMass is not a very, very good team, respectively. But it took Liberty to win that game in overtime. So I think Liberty is definitely still trying to figure things out. But, Nate, this one simply – it comes down to two factors for me. Liberty's at home, and I think they've got a really – I think, Caden Salter is just really the X factor here. He's, very, very respectable with his arm, but his legs are the difference in a very, very talented running back in Quentin Cooley. This guy, I mean, when you say he's built like a bowling ball, I mean, this is it, 5'7", but 220 pounds. He's just, he's low to the ground, and he's tough to tackle. And I mean, this is a guy that had 1,400 yards last year. He should get over 1,000 this week. He's sitting at 998. So I'm going to take the Flames in this one. I do think it's going to be a very, very close game. Western Kentucky is a very, very good program, but I think the Flames get the win, and they're trying to, as you mentioned, they're trying to get in the Conference USA Championship game. So give me Liberty.
Yeah, Brad, this is a tough one. As I'm looking at my handy-dandy note sheet over here, as I like to call it, you look at the stats, they're pretty even, but one thing that sticks out to me, for Liberty, their kicking game. Their kicker, Colin Carhu, I hope I pronounced that right, or Carhu, Karhu, very reliable, kicking 70% of his field goal attempts, perfect for extra points, 25 of 25. Then you mentioned their running back in Quentin Cooley. Man, is he Cooley on the field. He's averaging 250 yards per game, Brad, on rushing, 23 touchdowns on the year, to your point. Then you look at Caden Salter. I think, at least for me anyways, I expected Caden to have a much better year than what he's having this year. Been very disappointed. The offense is not as attack mode as they used to be, and maybe that's because Hugh Freeze is gone, and now we're starting to see the result, the kind of slope, so to speak. I don't know if that plays into it, but we've seen them regress either way. In total, though, they're still averaging 441 yards in a very balanced offensive scheme. So they're still doing really well, just not as well as we're used to seeing. They're averaging about 31 points per game, and their opponents are averaging about 23 points per game. On the contrary, with Western Kentucky. They're averaging about 28 points per game. They're giving up about 21 points per game. So a little bit of a difference there. In the end, I'm going to go with Liberty as well. I think this is going to be a really close game. This one's really. We talk about games coming down to the wire. This one's going to come down to the wire. And I think, to your point, Liberty having the home edge, that gives them that carryover along with their kicking game. I think they'll end up winning by a field goal or less. I think they could cover the spread, but it's going to be real close. Give me the Liberty Flames in a close one. Let us know down in the comments who you think is going to come out on top on Saturday at 1 p.m. in Lynchburg, Virginia.